There are many ways we can listen to a Dharma talk, and there are many different styles of Dharma talks. Dogen in 12th century Japan used to give at least one Dharma talk every day, but they were usually short, pithy little statements for you to pick up on. Here we do single, longer talks, and quite often we talk about Dharma as being like the Dharma rain, a traditional Buddhist image. It falls and it nourishes in an appropriate way whatever it touches, so we just pick up what we can pick up. Maybe we're a daisy, maybe we're a tree, maybe we're the grass. We each take what we can from this talk, use it in our own way. Talks are supposed to embody practice rather than necessarily being structured lectures. That's really how you tell the difference between a lecture and a talk. Some of these talks do have quite a strong structure, and so maybe it's worth listening back to them at some point. But certainly for now, just feel the talk. Feel how it strikes you, how you're responding to it as you're sat there on the cushion. Let what strikes you strike you. Chew on it in your own way. So for the last few weeks, we've been talking about shame, about recognition, and the relationship between them. Last week I began with Sartre's famous little saying, hell is other people. Life would be great. I'd be fine if only there weren't other people around. And I think I said that I'd like to reconfigure that as hell is actually experiencing separation from other people. But it seems that to be ourselves, to be me, I have to be separate from everybody else. I mean, what's the alternative? Freud, in his writings, talks about the oceanic feeling as this feeling of non-separation. But then he was looking at it very much as a kind of regression, trying to get back to the womb in that completely undifferentiated, unified sense. And generally within the West, we think about the development of me as the development of my sense of self separate from everybody else. The development of my ego, my sense of I. But then, of course, we immediately say, I have a problem. My ego's bad. My ego's making me do all this terrible stuff. Oh no, if only there were an alternative to my ego self. That's where we started looking at the idea of recognition last week, because this proposes a completely different idea. It says, I find myself in relationship to you. I matter to you because you matter to me, because I matter to you. And we looked at the way that, from our relationship with our parents and our earliest caregivers, sense of who and what I am emerges out of this reciprocal play, dialogue, mutuality, games with the other. I see that I can have an effect on you. You can have an effect on me. How wonderful. We delight in each other. We learn joy in each other. We build something new together. We build relationship and the recognition of each other. So this is a strong sense of recognition. This isn't just, oh, that's you. It's not identification. It's a really strong sense. We build the possible, the unknown together, out of both of us. So this isn't losing myself. This isn't some kind of oceanic feeling. This is something much stronger. This is a sense of connection, a sense of self based not in separation from you, but in sharing, in shared joy, shared delight, shared caring, shared connection. I really think this is vital. For the ego self, there's only one piece of cake, and either you have it or I have it. So then we start talking about selflessness, and we get mixed up with that, with unselfishness. Oh no, you have the cake. No, you have the cake. No, you have it. There's a wonderful, very early Paul Klee etching of two gentlemen meeting and both trying to bow lower than the other, and they end up, on the floor effectively. And of course, in the Christian context, this ends up as judgment, doesn't it? If I give you the cake, and this is caricature, me, stereotype, me, no, but seriously, if I give you the cake, then I get to go to heaven. But if I grab the cake, then I get to go to hell. It's about judgment. Okay. And we confuse that idea of unselfishness with selflessness. But then in the context of recognition, what could selflessness be? Okay, so I want to work around to that and eventually get back to us sat right here on the cushion right now. So we have this ambivalence around the personal, around my sense of self. And one of the criticism which Zenis and Buddhists in general make of a certain style of mindfulness practice, and yes, it is pejorative, gets called muck mindfulness, which is about me. It's about me being the best I can, me being kind to myself, me developing my mind, developing my own relaxation, my own space. So actually it's still all about me. I'm using mental strategies for it to be all about me. And we contrast that with saying, oh no, Zen, Buddhism, no, it's selflessness, nothing to do with the personal self. That in itself becomes a dangerous kind of cliche. And it's my own teacher, Barry Magid, who I think has most strongly brought out this idea of, well, simply ask the question, what do you actually think you want out of practice? And then using that as our answer to that, because it's always some kind of fantasy. I want to be good. I want to be safe. I want to be enlightened. I want to be something. But it's using that as the basis. It's usually some kind of escape. Why do I want to escape? What am I trying to escape from? Okay, so in this, kind of fairly conventional way of looking at Zen, looking at mindfulness, I'm looking for a way out. While I'm sat here, I'm looking for peace. I'm looking for respite. I'm looking for stepping out of that self that I know I am and have to be everywhere else off the cushion. But here, I can make my little cocoon, my little bubble. And that's safety. We even get this in kind of traditional Buddhist thought. It's said that while I'm on the cushion, I'm not generating bad karma. I'm safe. I'm good. But is that really what we're trying to do? We say that we're trying to be in this moment. And in this moment, being, well, just recognising that we're perfect as we are. Nowhere to go, nothing to do, no improvement needed. Shunryu Suzuki has a lovely little spin on that. We're all perfect as we are and we could all use a little improvement. That's a nice way of putting it, I think. But it depends how we see this perfection. Is this perfection just static? Is it just this moment right here, cut off from everything else? Or is it this moment as dynamic, this moment as opening out onto the past, looking out towards the future, this movement as a part of a dynamic flow, a continuum? See, if this perfection is static, then all it ever can be is a pause, a rest. I came in from the outside world. As soon as I get off my cushion, I go back to the outside world. Yabba, 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 yabba. It's all back there. But actually, if this perfection is dynamic, if it's ripe with all the past that has led me to this moment, this person, this body, these thoughts, this experience, right here, right now on the cushion. And if it's pregnant with the future, with all my hopes and fears and desires and how those turn out and what I actually do, then that's a different kind of connection. And if I think sitting, if I think Zen is just about being here now, I don't get to do anything. And life is about doing things. Life is about, well, relationship. I come having a past as a suffering, vulnerable, loving, desiring being. And I look out towards my future as a suffering, vulnerable, desiring, loving being. And this moment, sat on the cushion, being, just this moment, is the bridge between the two. Both of those are myself, and this moment here is myself, the self of this moment. Not some sense of selflessness, I am nothing while I'm here. Not some sense of finding my true self, at last I've got it, my true self. What am I going to do with it? But just being the self of this moment, and the next moment, and the next moment. And this is the self of relationship. This is the self of recognition. I love this Zen phrase, learning how we walk together. If it's not about me, if it's not all about me, then it has to be about us. How we walk together. And what is this self? What is the self of recognition? What is the self of relationship? to really meet you, to really recognize you, I have to be both aware that I'm fundamentally like you. I'm suffering. I'm vulnerable. I have desire. I have love. I have love to offer you. And I have to recognize that in being exactly like that, you're different from me. You're not me. You're not some extension of me. You're a different person. I have to be open. I have to recognize the possibilities of this situation. So actually, to go back to the root of what we mean by not self in a Buddhist sense, I have to recognize that this self is not a fixed self. I have to meet the situation. I bring my past, but am I bound by it to respond in the same way, react in the same way that I've always reacted? Or I can be open enough to you and the reality of this meeting to respond in a way that's open and appropriate and lets out of the infinite possibilities build something fresh, something new. So not a fixed self and not a separate self. I recognize that we are alike in being different. I matter because you matter. So, I'll ask you the questions. Who am I when I sit? Who do I meet when I sit? Do I recognize that self? This is the basis of our practice. Whatever feelings, whatever emotions, whatever thoughts arise. As this self in relationship to itself, recognizing or not recognizing itself. Will I be open to myself? Will I meet myself here on the cushion with openness and possibility?